let's move on to our running back draft. We're going to do running backs this week and then wide receivers next week. Brandon, you have the first pick of this draft, and Shane, for the wide receiver draft, you will have the first pick. Here are all our players eligible, of course. This is all ESPN.com depth charts named the starters. And then we named 13 eligible backups: James White, J.K. Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, Duke Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Philip Lindsay, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tariq Cohen, Kerryon Johnson, Jamal Williams, Cam Akers, Tevin Coleman, and Rashad Penny. Brandon, you have the first pick of this draft.
I'm going with a pick that's pretty obvious to me. With the first pick in the first round, I select Christian McCaffrey.
That was my top running back on my board. Why are you selecting Christian McCaffrey?
Because he's a cheat code. I mean, there's not many running backs in the league that I will watch and he does something like insane every game. But that's Christian McCaffrey for me. I mean, I think I've told you this, Robert, but like he might be the only player in the league that I'd be willing for like the Seahawks to like just like send the house to get
sell
him.
Everything.
Just like all we need is Russell Wilson and Christian McCaffrey. That's it.
Christian came into the league as a receiving back. That was it.
Yeah.
That's why he was drafted where he was drafted. Then Carolina really developed his running game, and the big reason why he went number one, I think, is pretty simple, and why he's number one on all of our boards is he can do it all. He's not just a runner; he can catch the ball as well, and he truly developed his running game at the pro level.
Yeah. He's also a fantasy beast.
Yeah, for sure. Shane, why do you have number one on your board? Is it for those same reasons?
Yeah, I mean, the dude had 116 receptions last year. Like,
yeah,
as a running back.
Which is nuts.
Come on. Yeah. Not to mention he's also a great rusher.
Yeah.
He can power some guy. He can kind of be a power back. I mean, I feel like he's still a little bit more finesse, but he can still power guys, even though he's pretty small in stature, at least on the field.
Yeah, he had almost 2,400 yards altogether, total yards.
Jeez.
He also stays really healthy.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Health is certainly going to be a factor as we go through this list as well. Shane, you have the number 2 overall pick in the running back draft.
Well. We were talking about him earlier. We're going to go with the man Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry goes second overall. Give me your thought process on why he's number 2.
Well, I mean, there was a couple of guys that I was considering, but, you look at him, I think he does something that a lot of other backs can't do, which is just constantly find a way to be a great power back, really consistent, and get the tough yards you need. I mean, the guy, I'm pretty sure, had the most rushing touchdowns last year with 16. And he had almost 1,600 yards rushing, which is insane. He is the Titans' offense, so he is number 2 for me.
What I love about him is the same thing that I love about McCaffrey, but even at a higher level. And that's why I had a tough time kind of figuring out where to put him on my list, because he's a guy where he's small in stature, but he is just a bulldozer. That's what this guy's game is just built off of. And he did that even in college at Alabama, and he's done it at another level in Tennessee, of course, getting that big contract. Brandon, your thoughts on Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I had Derrick Henry at 4, but he definitely, like as you said, Shane, he is the Tennessee Titans offense, and like I got very impressed by him. I've had him on my fantasy team like 4 years in a row, but he kind of like choked for me a lot, and then last year he just basically, I feel like he was told, just, you know what, get the ball, run straight, and run through people. And it worked out pretty well for them.
He was
So-
number 3 on my board. As you can't tell, this is going to be very fantasy specific because we are looking at these. We are looking at these running backs as other than the quarterbacks, right, where we kind of have sort of an idea of how they play. With the running backs, we are looking at them specifically in how talented they are, more specific than just the quarterbacks and what they do for wins as well. I'm going to go with the number one consensus running back or number one consensus player in fantasy last season before Christian McCaffrey went off, and that is Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
Saquon was number 2 on my board. Again, Derrick Henry was 3. He is, as you guys said, with the Titans offense, he is to a much heightened degree the Giants offense. He makes that offense run. He makes Daniel Jones better. He's just an all-around back, and he's pretty much everything for that offense now. And he's going to continue to do that. And yeah, there's risk of injury when that's the case, and he did get injured last year, but he is their guy, and he came into the league and immediately took the league on fire. So
Yeah.
that's why that would be my pick.
Yep, I like it.
Brandon, you're up with the 4th overall pick and the first pick of the second round.
Well, I am going with someone that we've talked about today, who is the running back for America's team. I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott. He, as we've talked about, he makes Dak look even better very good when he's on the field. He had a very big season in 2018, and then he had an even more productive season in 2019. He had 12 rushing touchdowns, 78 first downs. Only Derrick Henry had more. And then he had 972 yards after contact, which was 4th in the league. And he did have less big plays in 2019, but he was more productive in his play. I think Ezekiel Elliott is honestly the guy that, like, everybody talks about, like, Dak in Dallas. Like, honestly, if I'm
Zeke.
Dallas, I'm focused on Zeke. Like, it's Zeke or bust. Like,
It's Zeke and Amari, man. That's what
Yeah.
makes that team run. Where did you have Zeke ranked on your board, Shane?
For me, about 3rd or 4th. Yeah.
I had him 6th.
really?
Yeah. I was surprised that I had him out of my top 5. I have a few guys here that will come down the board and talk about, but I had him 6th. It's tough. I like him a lot. I don't know if it's the off the field issues that's part of the reason he's here, but I like the other guys that I have ahead of him more. I think that their skill sets, just talent-wise, are much better, and they're more multidimensional.
Do you think it's like Zeke fits better in Dallas or something with the line that he has, or?
That might be it as well, but I just like the skill sets of the 5 guys I have ahead of him more so, or I like the talent of these guys that I have ahead of him, which I'm sure we'll get to some of those players as we go down the board. Yeah, so I had him at 6, which was a big surprise for me as I did this list. Shane, you're up with the second pick of the second round, 5th overall.
With the 5th overall pick, I will go with Dalvin Cook. The injuries are a little bit concerning to me, but for me, this is kind of it's a similar situation to the Cowboys, because to me, the offensive force on this team is Cook and Thielen, not necessarily Kirk Cousins. So, yeah, I mean, he was, at least statistically speaking, he was right up there with, Henry, McCaffrey, and Elliott. And, as long as he's healthy, I don't anticipate that changing. So, I'll take what I can get from him when he is playing and well.
Yeah, we'll see if he does play in 2020, of course, with the contract holdout still being a huge story, even though it's died down in the last few weeks. As we've talked
Yeah.
about, Kirk, as you just mentioned, Shane, Kirk Cousins is not the mainstay of this team. He's not what makes this team go, and the coaching staff knows that.
Yeah.
It's all about the running game for Mike Zimmer's offense, and Dalvin Cook is just perfect for it, of course, when he's healthy. Brandon, what do you think of this selection?
Yeah. I feel like he gets a little hurt too much for me to put him that high. But
That's fair.
I think I would have put him probably in like for me he would be in maybe like the 8 or 9 range. Just because of his injury concerns, but pure skill wise, yeah, I think 5 is fair.
He was number 4 on my board.
Hmm.
And I'm going to pick the guy who's number 5 on my board. It's simple. This guy just kind of does it all. I mean, if you guys will watch some of this man's training videos, it's ridiculous how this guy trains. This guy, if you watch this guy train, it's more fun than about 80% of the league. The guy is focused on everything. The guy has incredible balance. And this is one thing that makes him one of the best running backs in the league, and at 5 for me. And that guy's Alvin Kamara.
Mm.
His balance is insane. I mean, he can move side to side so quickly. He's just someone that's so difficult to tackle because when he looks like he's down, who can somehow find a way to get back up, he's like flipping the right stick down in Madden. I mean, he's just insane. And he's just one of my favorite guys to watch on and off the field when you're talking about his skill set. So for me, he goes here at number 6 overall. Anyone have any thoughts on that selection?
Yeah, I mean, Kamara is kind of strange for me because I sort of forget about him sometimes because, you look at that team and you always think of like, Breeze and Michael Thomas or whatever. Like, no, this guy's really good too. Don't forget about him,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Brandon, you're opening up the 3rd round.
With the 7th pick in the 3rd round of the running back draft, I take Nick Chubb.
You like this guy. You had him
I
on your
do.
fantasy team last year. I had him at number 7, so I was right there with you. He popped this year. What do you like about his skill set?
He is he anybody who's watched him play knows that he is like kind of a mini version of Marshawn Lynch, where he'll like he does the same thing that Marshawn Lynch does, where he keeps his legs chopping. Like he keeps going. Like a lot of running backs have the problem where they'll hit the line, like they'll hit the guy who's tackling them, and they'll stop their legs. But like he just keeps his legs going, and he's able to bust through guys. And I mean, yeah, I'm going back to my fantasy biases, but like he was very good at being like he's an explosive player. He also led the league last season in carries with 20 carries of 15 yards or more for 574 yards. Only Josh Jacobs of the Raiders had more missed rushing tackles created than Chubb, who had 66. So he's very quick. He has power and he's explosive. And those 3 things together really work to, make a great player.
I know, Shane, what you love about Nick Chubb and what you mentioned about him is in this organization in Cleveland, as we continue to talk about with their maturity level, this is the one player on this team that you can point to as a superstar that really has a high level of maturity and just goes out there and plays every week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely what I like about him. And he's very consistent, which is good for that franchise or any franchise.
In the 2nd pick of the 3rd round, 8 overall, Shane, you're on the clock.
Well, I'm surprised this guy hasn't been taken already, but I'll do it now. Aaron Jones.
Wow. Yeah,
Because,
that's a wow for me.
really,
Yeah. Go ahead. Say your thought process.
well, he scored more than any other running back in the entire NFL, for starters. Except for McCaffrey. They're tied. But, I mean, you know, this people look at the Packers last year and looking at the 13 wins, and people think, oh, well, they got Aaron Rodgers. It's like, no, I think this guy was actually just as much of a key to their success as Rodgers was, because, I mean, the guy, he wasn't, he just kind of popped out of nowhere. And he got over 1,000 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns, not to mention his great success as a receiving back as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely, I mean, for me, he's like number 6 overall, which, I mean, call me crazy, but that's, I like him.
I had him at 12. And the main reason why I get the whole touchdown thing, but the main reason why for me is Jamal Williams. Because if you look at their ratio of how much they care, and there's a reason why that's the case, because they kind of want to protect him. They don't want Aaron Jones to play as much due to his size. But he's kind of capped off in terms of how many rushing attempts he can get. So that's why he's a little bit lower for me. In terms of the actual spot of where he's selected, I can understand it. But with Jamal Williams back there, they kind of have a two-back set, even though it doesn't always feel that way, because Aaron Jones is definitely a lot better than Jamal Williams. But I think that's a huge reason why he's much lower on my board than most. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this selection?
I think it's pretty much around the same space I would have put it. I think Aaron Jones he's a very good player. But I think because of the fact that Aaron Rodgers is there, he doesn't have as much of like that like if they didn't have him, the team would crumble, which like a lot of these teams we've talked about, I feel like would be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the clock now, and I'm going to take the guy. I'm sorry, Kyler Murray. Look, I love Kyler, but he should not have won Rookie of the Year. This man should win Rookie of the Year, and the man is Josh Jacobs. The reality is for him to come into the league, I think he was 22nd, maybe 23rd overall. For him to come into the league and perform how he did right out the gate, no one was expecting that. Nobody was. And he turned into a top quality running back. And he turned into a guy for me who should win Rookie of the Year. On this Raiders team, he kind of runs the boat on that offense because, let's be honest, John Gruden is not comfortable with Derek Carr, but you know who he is comfortable with? Josh Jacobs. He makes that offense move. Brandon, thoughts on that pick?
I actually really didn't get a chance to see much of Josh Jacobs this season. Didn't really watch a ton of the Raiders, so I can't really comment.
Shane, what are your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little high, I'll be honest, but I understand the thought process behind it though, because I mean he's still, I mean he's only a second-year player, and I mean he's already playing like a veteran, so yeah, I don't have an issue with it.
Yep. Brandon, you're on the clock with the first pick of the 4th round.
Alrighty. I will. I'm gonna go with I'm going to go with Chris Carson. Now, some people might say, but Brannan, Chris Carson is an injury risk. That would be correct. He is an injury risk. But if you look at what he gets done when he's actually on the field, if he was not an injury risk, if he had managed to stay healthy these last 3 seasons, I would be putting him in my top 5 probably.
Yeah.
When he is on the field, he is a superstar. He kills it. He dominates the game. He's one of the most frustrating players for me because of the fact that he doesn't stay healthy. So, yeah.
I thought the injury risk would make him fall to me here in the 4th round. I had him 9th. I love watching him play. I mean, the guy is just so physical. He's exactly what Pete Carroll and the staff wants in a running back. And yeah, the injury concerns are rough, but I think slotting him in the top 10 and especially at 10 in this draft is completely fair. Shane, what do you think of this pick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think if he actually stayed healthy throughout the year, it'd be a much different story. If he consistently stayed healthy, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he, despite that, he still got most yards he still got more yards than most guys that played the full season. So, other than like Derrick Henry and Zeke and McCaffrey, whatever. But yeah, no, I definitely think he would probably be a top 5 for me as well. And I'm not saying that as a homer. I mean it.
No, I don't. I think this is a homerish discussion. The guy, consensus-wise around the league, is incredible as a running back.
Yeah.
Shane, you're on the clock with the 11th overall pick.
Well, speaking of Kyler Murray, I'm going to keep things in the NFC West here. Go with Kenyon Drake.
Ooh.
Look, I'll be honest, before the season, I didn't know who this guy was.
What?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
You didn't watch him play in Miami at all?
It's Miami. Who cares? But so then, sorry, Miami fans, if any of you are listening.
Kenyon Drake schooled the Patriots.
And the 49ers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I watched this guy for the first time when the Cardinals were playing the 49ers, and just seeing him shred that defense, I was like, wow, okay, this guy is the real deal. He didn't put up amazing numbers quite yet, but that's because he pretty much only played like half the season. But and he was I think he was kind of splitting a lot of carries with some other backs there because they were still trying to figure out who their guy was. But he very clearly is the person now. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play a full season as the guy. I think he's really going to pop and be really good. So Kenyon Drake at 11 overall.
He single-handedly won my fantasy league this year for one of my friends. He single-handedly won the league for him. Even in Miami, I felt bad because I knew that he had a great skill set, and I watched him play and go, either get this guy on a new team or figure out how to use him. And I was so frustrated watching him in Miami because I thought, man, if he could only go to the right team. I didn't think he'd be amazing. I didn't think he'd be at the level he was pretty much immediately when he got traded to Arizona. I didn't think it would be even close. But in saying that, I knew he could be capable. And it's clear that change of scenery in Arizona was perfect for him. Because for him to be slotted right here at 11, I know it's weird because for a lot of people, it was only right. It was half a season, but that half a season was so incredible that this guy's going to come in next year and be a dominant back and certainly move up the board at this time next year. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Kenyon Drake?
Basically what Shane said. Yeah. He kind
of
everything. Yeah, woohoo. Woot.
All right. Here's the guy that I pegged at 10 overall. I pegged Kenyon Drake at 11. I pegged this guy at 10. Yeah, it's questionable, but when he's healthy, he's kind of what makes this team fun to watch. This team in general, even with Minshew Mania, isn't fun necessarily to watch, but this guy makes it fun to watch. The Jacksonville Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette goes at number 12 overall. He just makes his team fun to watch. He's just pretty much the lifeblood of this offense, even with Minshew there. He helps him out tremendously. It's just a new organization is what he needs. And as you can tell, the Jags are going to be trading a lot of their good players. Hopefully they can get some quality picks back. But Leonard Fournette needs a change of scenery, and if he gets it, he'll be considered a top 10 guy by most people's metrics, I believe. Brandon, you're on the clock here at 13.
Mm. I'm going to go with Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler, another fantasy pick for you. I knew you would pick him pretty high. What excites you about Austin Eckler going into 2020 where he's going to have a full role?
Well, now that he doesn't have any schmucks holding him down, Austin Eckler could actually show the world why I have loved this guy as a fantasy guy for so long. I mean, he is one of the best, like, pass catching backs as well as running backs. I just think he does it all. I mean, he's really good. He's quick, explosive, and he a lot of the time seems to be forgotten about in the end zone. So
yeah, I had him at 15. The major thing for him is I want to see him play a full season. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But we will get a chance to see that, and I don't know how it's going to work with that quarterback room there. But if Tyrod Taylor starts, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get an idea of what he could be. But if Herbert starts a good portion of the season, Austin Eckler is going to benefit tremendously. Shane, you're on the clock with the 14th overall pick. Shane, you're also muted.
My bad there. 14 overall. I am going to say Joe Mixon.
Wow.
Because, I think if this guy was in a better organization, he would perform a lot better. Because, I mean, the way it is right now, he's got a bad offensive line. Yet he still manages to get a lot of yards. And, I mean, no, he's not amazing. But I think in the right system, he could be really good. I just don't think that Cincinnati is it, which is why I think it holds him back a little bit. But yeah, Joe Mixon for me.
He's frustrating because for me, I think he's overhyped.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think, as you said, if he was in a better organization, he definitely would be a lot better. But I'll be completely honest, he's looking for a new contract extension. He doesn't deserve top money at all. He's good at points, but throughout an entire season, he's inconsistent at best. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with Cincinnati, but I don't know. I had him at 23. I don't know what to make of him. Yes, he's capable of being good, but he just hasn't shown it to me at all. Brandon, what are your thoughts on the Mixon selection here?
Sure. Yeah,
No.
No. I don't know. I don't.
You picked Fitzpatrick at 7 overall. You don't get to talk down to me for this.
You know what, Shane? I'm not talking down to you. I'm just saying I wouldn't have had Joe Mixon at 14. And you wouldn't have had Fitzpatrick as high as I did. So,
I'm at 15. Let's say we haven't had a really Fitzpatrick-y like pick so far here. But
True.
Let's look through my board here really quick. Give me Miles Sanders.
I knew you were going to pick him.
He's my guy. Yeah, I get it. It's playoff production based. Okay, fine. Playoffs matter. Okay, I get it. Here's the thing. In the playoffs, the guy was amazing. He was everything for them. He's a great player. He just didn't get enough run last year until about week 12. It's kind of the same thing with Kenyon Drake, except Kenyon Drake actually got more pub for it. And then in the playoffs, Sanders was just ridiculous. Not only catching the ball, but of course, more importantly, running the ball. So, yeah, Miles Sanders goes off the board here. He's ranked 13th on my board. Brannan, you're up to start the 6th round.
I'm gonna go with, and I'm acknowledging that this is a reach, and I don't know if it's too much of a reach, but it's like a highly based around how well the line does this year, for this specific team. I'm going with Le'Veon Bell, and this is assuming he gets a better line. I think he'll have a better season. But
I think we're certainly expecting the line to be better. I had him right at 16. I don't have too much of a problem with this selection. I think his talent's too good to deny below 20. But Shane, what are your thoughts on this selection?
No, I think this is I don't have an issue with this at all.
that's
all right.
surprising.
Shane, you're up at the 2nd pick of the 6th round.
Oh boy. Gosh. I'm gonna say Mark Ingram. Because he what?
You're taking a running back on a team that has Lamar Jackson?
I mean, look, the guy, he's like the one running back that averaged over 5 yards last year. I mean, hey, I'll take what I can get. I mean, it's like, look, he still had over 200 carries, and he scores a lot. There's no denying that. Yes, he is getting, he's 30 now, so he's probably not going to be as effective going forward. I get that. But for right now, if I need a guy, I mean, I wouldn't complain. But
where did I have him again? 20. Let's see. Where did I have him? I had him at 22. I had him at 22. So yeah, the range isn't terrible, but like, again, as Brandon said, you have a running back there or a guy who likes to run the ball more than Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson. So
I know.
And then J.K. Dobbins is more likely going to fill the role, and he's here in this draft.
Well, this is my team, and on my team, Mark Ingram is going to be a superstar.
Brandon, are you surprised by this selection as well?
Mark Ingram?
It's not like I took him in the 1st round or something.
Yeah, I know you didn't take him in the 1st round, but like, actually, that is kind of fair. It's not the 1st round; it is round 6. So, for that, I'll say it's fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
This has been a nice discussion.
With the 18th overall pick, I'm taking a guy who I feel sad for and should be traded immediately in Philip Lindsay.
Yeah.
Philip Lindsay needs to be traded because he does not deserve to be behind Melvin Ingram at all. He just doesn't. And I have him ranked above Melvin Ingram here.
Yeah.
Hey, Melvin Gordon.
Or excuse me, Melvin Gordon. My bad. Melvin Gordon. It's just he's really good, and he doesn't get enough respect even on his own team. I think it's a pretty simple selection. Brandon, what are your thoughts on that one?
I remember when Melvin Gordon got traded to Denver, and I was like, wait, why? You have a starting caliber running back already. Like, I assumed he was going to just be a third down back or something, but then they said, nope, he's going to be the starter. I was like, what are you doing? Ah!
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous move to me, and I have him ranked above Gordon, so there's a reason for it. Brandon, you're on the clock here to start the 7th round.
I'm going to take mm, can I see the list of
Yes,
names come up?
please.
I'm going to take David Montgomery.
Ooh. Give me your thoughts on why David Montgomery is your selection here.
Because football. No, I'm just kidding. Because he's one of those players that I feel like he gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. But he also is the only reason why the Bears ever have a chance of looking somewhat good when they play on a Sunday or a Thursday or a Monday. I mean, their quarterback sucks, and he's just a diamond in the rough.
He's the guy that doesn't get talked about a lot. It's really unfortunate and frustrating because he's good. I think he'll be even better this year. And if he does, I think he'll become a guy that a lot of NFL fans know about, not just the hardcores.
True that.
Shane, you're up with the 20th overall selection. And you're muted again as well.
Dang it, I'm sorry. My mother and sister are running around and making noise. Let's see. What is this? 20 overall. Okay.
We're in the middle of the round here.
I will say Todd Gurley.
Injury concern much?
Well, yes. But, regardless of that, just a year ago, he was one of the best running backs in the league. And, he still, regardless of the injuries, he still managed to have a decent season last year, all things considered. And I mean, I want to see how he works out in Atlanta. But if it weren't for the injury concerns and all this other stuff, he'd be a lot higher, I think. So that's what kind of holds him back and why I ultimately have picked him here.
He's tough to draft. I mean, I had him at 21, so it's a good range, but I don't know he's going to perform in Atlanta. I don't even think he'll be that productive. I just have a hard time because I don't feel like he's the same running back he was when he came into the league. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this selection, and how do you think Todd Gurley will do in Atlanta?
I don't know. I think he does have a serious problem to deal with in the fact that he has arthritis.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty big deal for a running back to deal with, So.
Yeah. The injury concerns it's just tough if you're Atlanta to want to pay him that kind of money with that concern there. But even so, it's a fair selection here. At 21, I'll take James Conner. Again, injury concern. This is the theme, and we already mentioned it was going to be a theme. The reality is Conner is good when he's healthy, but when he's not, his injuries are always just really tough to gauge and can be massively frustrating, not only for the Steelers, but anyone who does have have him in fantasy. And if you don't, because you want a guy like Jalen Samuels if you're in a PPR league. But even with that, I mean, it's the injuries are tough for me to really quantify, and that's why he's here. I think if he doesn't have them, he's definitely much higher on this board. Brandon, you're on the clock to start the 8th round.
Oh boy, it's starting to get very slim pickings.
Yep, for sure.
I don't know.
Who should I ask?
Seriously.
You need to phone a friend or something?
Oh! Here's who I'll take. Raheem Mostert.
You're going to take Raheem.
Yeah.
What is it for
like
you?
He's a player. He runs the ball.
I like his quickness.
I like his moxie that he actually is willing to ask for a trade. He's also very fast. And yeah.
As Cole and I have talked about in the past, of course, him being a Niners fan and following the Niners more than we all have, I think, him coming from special teams to a starting role, you could make an argument that Kyle Shanahan is a huge reason why he's successful, but in the playoffs, he was kind of everything for them. And much to my frustration.
He also has the highest speed rating in Madden.
Interesting. Yeah. No, but I like him. I think he should be the starter for the Niners moving forward. He won't be. He'll get traded eventually, considering how deep that running back room is, and we'll talk about how deep that running back room is as we go along. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good selection here. I had him at 24 actually, so not too bad there. Shane, you're on the clock with the 23rd overall pick.
I will say Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with this guy, he's not he's like he's one of those running backs who really puts up pretty good numbers, but people kind of forget to talk about him, I think. Which, I mean, it's understandable. He's in an interesting organization, to say the least. So yeah, but I really like him. I think he, I think he's not an amazing player, but I think he's, good enough for what they need, if you will.
Yeah.
Especially since they are probably going to have, what's his name?
Jonathan Taylor is now there as well.
So
I think Jonathan Taylor and him are going to be a dynamic duo. I think they're going to be ridiculous with Phillip Rivers there. Marlon Mack, again, one that I think only hardcores really know about his incredible skill set. He's just one of my favorite guys to watch play. I love watching the Colts partially because of him. Him and Jonathan Taylor, yes, it will hurt Marlon Mack's numbers, but oh my God. If Jonathan Taylor comes in and starts playing at a high level, even as close to Mack has played the last few years, watch out, NFL, because that's gonna be a wrecking ball. All right, I'm on the clock here. Let's see where we're at here. Yeah, I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna take Melvin Gordon. Yes, I have the 2 Broncos on my team. Give me Melvin. Look, it was frustrating last year. The guy shouldn't have been so persistent about asking for a new contract. It wrecked him. It hurt him tremendously. He went to the Broncos specifically because he wanted to play the Chargers next season, which he will twice, of course. Not a great signing. I don't know how great of a fit it is. It's really confusing. I think his career is on a confusing path, but when he's kind of the mainstay, he's dominant. And I keep going back to his early Chargers days and go, man, this guy was good. And he would have been much higher up this board if he took the original Chargers contract, let's be honest. Brandon, you're on the clock to open round 9, I should say.
I will take James Conner.
I took James Conner.
Robert
Oh,
did.
you did? God damn it.
You dum-dum.
Whatever. Who's actually left?
There's a few that are left.
A lot of
Oh, I
people.
guess there's all the backups are left, really. A lot of them are.
There's some starters left here.
Yeah. Mm,
There's a few young guns here.
oh, I'm gonna take Rashad Penny.
Wow.
At me.
Wow.
At me,
Homer.
fool. Whatever. I don't care.
Anyways,
What is your reasoning for Rashad Penny? I had him at 38.
Wow. You're a savage.
Why did you pick him here?
I picked him because he started showing flashes of brilliance. I think he's good. I would rather them use him as a passing running, like a pass catching running back.
receiving back.
Yeah, receiving back. I think he's really good in that position. But yeah, he had some flashes. I think it was really unfortunate timing that he got hurt when he got hurt. Because he was really just because he had his huge game, and then he got hurt.
How many times does that seem to happen with the Seahawks in their running back position? It happens a lot.
A lot.
When guys seem to show out and then it kind of falls apart. Shane, you're on the clock with the 26th overall pick.
26th overall. I will take Devin Singletary.
Nice. That was the next guy on my board.
Is he even in the league still?
Yeah.
He's a second-year player.
Oh.
What do you like about him?
Well, he didn't play a ton last year, but he had a good amount of snaps, and I think the Bills' offense is very dynamic, and he's definitely part of that. He's just a solid back. He's a nice complement to their passing game, which is definitely improving. So yeah.
Yeah, that was my next guy on my board. So good job there.
Sorry about that.
It's totally fine. Let's see where we're at. We're like halfway through, so I gotta look down my board. Give me David Johnson.
Okay.
This guy doesn't have. Okay, so David Johnson, his first couple of years were phenomenal, and then it kind of all fell apart in Arizona. Will Houston be perfect for him? No, it won't be. It's going to be rough. But he still has a skill set that makes Bill O'Brien say, yeah, he's worth coming on the team. Of course, in probably one of the worst trades of the last 5 years. But even with that, I think he can still be somewhat productive there in what is a very strange Houston backfield, but he can be somewhat productive. Brandon, you're on the clock to start round 10.
I'm thinking. Right, we're in the weeds now, like.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. This is where it gets tougher than the running back draft. This is where it gets tough.
I shall take Damian Williams.
Damian Williams.
Kansas City.
Are you worried that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to kind of take his job really early next year, though?
Nah, fam. Damian Williams is, out here being the homie. I don't know. No. he, if he does, he does. But like, Damian Williams had a good season last year. He only fumbled twice. He had 887 rushing yards, eight touchdowns rushing, 59 receptions for 465 yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. That's an increase of 3 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. So from 2019.
Well, while I can get the selection, it's hard for me to really figure out that running back room in Kansas City. It's just wild, and it's kind of not necessarily that important when Mahomes there, but it's certainly a pretty fair selection, all things considered. Shane, you're on the clock.
I will take James White.
James White.
Now I get that Michelle is technically the starter there, but I just think that James White is more dynamic for New England's particular style of offense, because he's a great receiving back, and I think that works in their favor with all their little dink and dunk passes they always do. So yeah, that's why I take him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Damian Williams, he's actually ranked 40 on my board, but I can totally understand why Brandon took him there. As for Jamal Williams, yeah, I think it's solid.
You mean James White?
Or James White, excuse me. I think that's a pretty solid selection. I have him actually right at 29. I have the other Patriots running back right above him. So they're kind of neck and neck for me. I don't really know what they do with that position. They kind of just do whatever.
Yeah.
Both Sony Michel and James White kind of figured themselves out there, I guess. With the 30th selection, let's see who is. Give me Jamal Williams. Both of two Williams go off on this board. Yeah, give me Jamal again. Jamal gets a good portion of these carries in Green Bay. They want to keep both of them healthy, so they kind of split the carries. And he can still be very productive. He would be better in a much more volume role, but even with that, I think he's still very productive and very good. Brandon, you start the 11th round.
I do.
Just like all the other rounds.
Oh boy. Well, I'm gonna take Kerryon Johnson. And don't be giving me any what? Because Kerryon Johnson had was one of the most improved running backs on any team between 2019 and 2020. He went from 403 rushing yards in 2019 to 817 in 2020, with 7 touchdowns in 2020, whereas he only had 3 in 2019. And yeah, I mean, he was really one of the only factors of that team. Yes, he did have a knee injury that sidelined him for half the season, which also kind of adds to the factor that, like, if he had been playing more, he would have gotten even more stats.
Yeah, he would have easily been picked much higher if he wasn't injured. He was someone that not a lot of people talked about, but when he was healthy, him and Matt Stafford ran that offense perfectly.
Yeah.
And next year, we'll see. DeAndre Swift is actually slated to be the starter. We'll see how that changes. But with those two together, I think it'd be great for the Lions as an organization. Shane, you're up with the 32nd overall.
Speaking of DeAndre Swift, I'm going to take DeAndre Swift. I think that I just think that he'll be a very nice addition to this offense. I think together they'll be a great running back duo. I'm just looking forward to seeing, what he brings to the table.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch. It's interesting that he is slated as the starter, but first rookie off the board in the draft. I will take the other Patriots running back in Sony Michel. Again, kind of a confusing backfield, but both of them work great together. I think it's a pretty self-explanatory pick. He's a pretty good back. He can get the job done. but both of them together, James White and Sonny Michel, is a nice combo. Brandon, you start the 12th round.
Do.
Do to do.
Do. Do.
Do to do.
A lot of rookies on this board still.
Yep.
I will take. See, I don't know. I'm not like very well versed in running backs.
Well, that's too bad.
I know. I don't know. I'm looking, fool.
You got Kareem Hunt still on the board. You got Jonathan Taylor, Tariq Cohen still on the board. Cam Akers, Tevin Coleman.
I'll take Kareem Hunt because you can't really go wrong with running backs on the
Browns.
Might as well put them together,
Kareem Hunt, yeah, he's talented, but he just didn't get enough playing time, and he's not. I don't think he'll get a lot of playing time even this year. Unfortunately, his career took a downward spiral, honestly, for good reason with what happened. But he can still be productive, but certainly not in this situation, I don't think. But again, I think, with his career, it's really tough considering the horrible stuff that happened with him. So, or not with him, but, what happened was really terrible and that really hurt his career.
What happened?
Do you not remember?
No.
He literally kicked a female outside of a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah. So,
yeah.
Pretty bad stuff. Shane, you're on the clock here at 35.
Give me Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think this guy will be a beast of a receiving back. Because that's what he was at LSU, and now he's got the best quarterback in the NFL to throw to him. So should be solid.
Yeah, should be great. Should be a good fantasy guy as well.
Yep.
Let's look down my board and give me Tariq Cohen.
All right.
Basically, if you're talking receiving back, the first name that should come out of your mouth is Tariq Cohen. He is that and only that. But he's very capable at that, and he's just the right kind of running back for this offense. Matt Nagy loves him. He just doesn't run the ball very well, but as a receiving back, he is top of the class in this league. Brandon, you start the 13th round.
Did you die?
A little bit.
We only got two. You only got 3 picks left.
I know. I'm trying to think.
But nothing's happening.
Exactly. I will take a peanut butter and cheese sandwich. No, I'm just kidding.
That sounds nasty.
What if it's Kraft cheese, though?
Even worse.
I'll take Ronald Jones II.
You'll take Ronald Jones.
Yep.
I want to see more production out of him. I do. But at the same time, at this spot, it's not bad. I don't know what he's going to do with Brady. I just don't know. Brady's kind of at the same spot with the running backs as he was in New England. You just kind of don't know what you get with Ronald Jones, and that's pretty frustrating. 38 overall. Shane, you're up.
I will say Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Completing that that Indianapolis tandem that I am looking forward to.
Yeah. Good selection there, and you mentioned all the reasons why earlier with the Marlon Mack selection. 38 overall, I'm on the clock. Let me look through this. Give me Cam Akers. He's a guy I'm really excited. Yep. Give me Cam Akers. He's the guy I'm really excited for. He'll start at some point, probably towards the middle of the season. I expect him to contribute right away. And again, Jared Goff needs a good running game. I don't know if he'll be able to provide it, but I'm confident. I'm more than confident that I think he'll be able to provide it. So I'll give him that selection here. Starting the 14th round, Brandon, you're on the clock. Do you want to take a cheese sandwich again, or what?
Wow. What do you? How dare you? I will never take a cheese sandwich. I'll take a Shane yawning. No. I'll take Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in that running back room, but if he's trusted in a top role, I think he can be fairly productive there in an offense that, again, is very centered on the running game in San Fran. Shane, you're on the clock with the 41st overall selection.
Jordan Howard. Solid vet that can get you some good yards if you need him, but not anything too special.
Yeah, I like him. He's lost his speciality a lot. He's not as special as he used to be. It's going to be a really weird backfield in Miami with him and Matt Breida, but we'll see how that works. Moving forward, 42nd overall, I'm on the clock, and I'm going to take Darius Geis. I wish I could pick him. I wish I could pick him higher. I do, but injury concerns are injury concerns, and the guy just hasn't played enough, or when he's played, hasn't been productive enough to put him higher. But I think this is a solid spot for him. I want him to be higher on this list. I just can't put myself to do it, just because those injury concerns are a little bit too much for me. Brandon, your last pick of the draft.
I will take Devonta Freeman.
Devontae Freeman's not eligible here.
Yeah. Whatever.
As he is a free agent.
Well, free agents should be eligible.
We're telling you guys this right now. Antonio Brown will not be eligible in our receiver draft, as he is a free agent.
Free agents.
Will Taysom Hill be available for the tight end draft?
Oh my goodness.
Duke Johnson is left.
Yeah, I'll take Duke Johnson.
You'll take Duke Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's solid. Again, not enough playing time for you to get a complete understanding of what he is as a back, but when he plays, he can be effective. Shane, your final pick of this draft.
J.K. Dobbins.
J.K., what excites you about him?
Well, I'm just looking forward to – because I think they'll probably phase this guy. They'll kind of phase out Ingram with this guy. And, it'll just be interesting to see how the rushing game continues in Baltimore just as Lamar develops as a passer and whatever else. So,
and then with the final pick, Darrell Henderson Jr., he was last on my board. Again, I expect Cam Akers to take over for him. He was productive at spots in LA last year, just not enough playing time for me to get a good understanding of what he is capable of. It's tough to pick guys here at the bottom, of course, but Darrell Henderson is fine for the last overall pick of the draft. All right, good show today, guys. Good draft. We'll have the receiver draft next week. So we're gonna
go. What about
through
the fullback draft?
There's only like 2 good fullbacks in the entire NFL, or 2 guys that are eligible at fullback. I think that are really good.
Strange how quickly that position died.
Yeah, you're always really surprised about that, are you?
Not surprised. It's just weird. I don't know.
You're used to that old school smash mouth football a little bit, huh?
I like it. What can I say?
All right, great show today, guys. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Brandon, for a great one. We'll be back next week. Wide receiver draft and all the other great news as we are getting closer to baseball season next week. So we'll recap those
Woohoo.
2 games as well that are happening next week as we're getting back to baseball. So we'll see you all next week.